You know, usually when we talk about finding our way out of a terrifying or a chaotic situation, we expect a very specific kind of solution.
Right, like a plan or a strategy.
Exactly. Think about being completely lost in a massive, unfamiliar city. It's pouring rain, it's the middle of the night, you don't speak the language, and, your phone battery just died.
Oh man, that is the ultimate nightmare scenario.
Right. And in that moment of rising panic, you don't want a lecture on urban planning.
No, definitely not.
You don't even really want a complex paper map that you can't read in the dark anyway. What you desperately want is for a local to just tap you on the shoulder, look you in the eye, and say, I know exactly where we are. Follow me.
Yeah, you want a person, not a process. Because a map is entirely useless if you can't orient yourself to it in the first place.
Completely useless.
But an experienced guide, well, that changes the entire dynamic of the situation. The burden shifts from your own navigational skills to their expertise.
And that fundamental difference, the gap between being handed a system and being offered a person, is what we are exploring today in this deep dive.
It's a huge distinction.
It really is.
Yeah.
We're taking on a single, incredibly famous 2,000-year-old sentence. It's John 14.6, which says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
And I mean, it is arguably one of the most consequential sentences ever recorded in human history.
Yeah.
Whether you are a history buff tracking the rise of global movements, or a theology student, or just someone who is endlessly curious about the ancient texts that shaped modern global culture, this single verse is an absolute cornerstone of Western thought.
Absolutely. But before we go any further, I want to establish a really important baseline for you, the listener.
Yeah, good call.
The texts and historical analyses we have today explore the traditional Christian understanding of this specific verse. And our mission in this deep dive is to impartially report on and unpack these concepts exactly as they are presented in the historical and theological texts.
Right, we're looking at the mechanics of it.
Exactly. We are not here to take sides or endorse a specific religious viewpoint or, to preach. Our goal is strictly analytical. We want to break down why this specific quote resonates so deeply with millions of people and understand the psychological and spiritual mechanics of how it functions within the belief system.
Because to understand its enduring impact, we really have to examine it from the inside out. We need to look at the massive claims it makes and the specific human anxieties it attempts to address.
Right.
And to do that effectively, we can't look at this verse in a vacuum.
No, which means we need the historical context. So walk us into the room where these words were actually spoken. Paint the picture of that specific moment in first century Jerusalem.
Okay, so you have to imagine an atmosphere thick with intense dread and paranoia.
Like palpable fear.
Exactly. We are in a space historically known as the Upper Room. It's the time of Passover, meaning Jerusalem is just packed with pilgrims.
Right. Crowded, chaotic.
Extremely chaotic. And the Roman military presence is on high alert, creating this sort of tinderbox of political tension. Plus, the religious authorities are actively plotting to eliminate threats to their power.
So everyone is on edge.
Everyone? And in the middle of all this, Jesus is speaking to his disciples shortly before his crucifixion. The context here is critical. These followers have given up their livelihoods, their reputations, their normal lives.
Literally everything.
Yeah, everything. To travel with this man for 3 years, they're deeply, deeply invested, and now he is dropping a bombshell. He is telling them that he is leaving, and where he is going, they cannot immediately follow.
Okay, let's unpack this, because
Yeah.
I think this is where the human element bridges the 2,000-year gap perfectly.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, imagine a startup team whose founder, the visionary who holds the entire fragile enterprise together.
The guy who convinced them all to quit their safe corporate jobs.
Yes, that exact guy. He suddenly walks into the boardroom on the eve of their biggest, most volatile product launch and says, I'm leaving, and you guys are about to face a massive hostile crisis without me.
Yeah, the team is naturally going to completely freak out.
They are begging for a step-by-step roadmap, a detailed spreadsheet, or some kind of crisis management protocol. They want a blueprint to survive the imminent collapse of everything they've built.
Of course they do.
But instead of giving them a system to execute, the leader essentially just points to himself.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what we see is a profound shift in leadership strategy. In this moment of sheer panic, Jesus emphatically does not give them the information they're asking for.
Right.
One of the disciples, Thomas, he basically voices the anxiety of the whole room. He practically begs for the spreadsheet, saying, We don't know where you are going, so how can we know the way?
Give us the map.
Exactly. And Jesus responds with John 14:6. He doesn't say, here is the way. He says, I am the way. He entirely bypasses their demand for instructions and offers his identity instead.
That phrasing completely subverts their expectations.
It really does.
He's not handing them a theological textbook or like a checklist of survival tactics. Going back to our Lost in the City analogy, he's basically saying, I am the local guide. Attach yourself to me.
Yeah, the historical consensus on this text points out that faith, in this specific context, isn't about following a set of moral rules or mastering some meditative technique to achieve enlightenment.
It's relational.
It is entirely about relational proximity. The text makes the claim that the universal human search for purpose and direction ends with a person.
Wow.
For the terrified disciples, this meant that surviving the coming trauma of the crucifixion wouldn't depend on their ability to remember a complex set of instructions under extreme duress. Their survival depended entirely on their relationship to him.
Okay, I see how the way addresses their immediate panic about direction. But the statement doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't.
He immediately pivots to saying, I am the truth. And I have to put you back here a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
In our modern pluralistic society where we really value tolerance and multiple perspectives, hearing anyone claim to be the absolute exclusive truth sounds incredibly arrogant.
Oh, it bristles, definitely.
Frankly, it sounds dangerous. We are conditioned to associate claims of absolute truth with dogmatism and oppression. So how does the ancient text reconcile that level of exclusivity with the idea of a loving, relational leader?
What's fascinating here is the complete paradigm shift it requires regarding how we define the word truth in the first place.
Okay, how so?
Well, in Western modern thought, we usually define truth as propositional. It's a verified data point. 2
Indonesia.